Okay, so let's just talk about how, so far, what is some of the stuff that the California offices and headquarters have been focusing on because I know the primary is coming up in, what is it, 10 days?
That's right.
So it's really, I mean,
out.
there's another primary going on today, but this is immediately it's going to go into California, it seems, after that.
Yeah,
so
that's
what kind of stuff are you guys working on right now?
Well, the main thing we've been doing is we've been in California for about the past year. Senator Obama was an organizer himself in the South Side of Chicago. We believe strongly in building leadership into communities, organizing communities. That's where we've seen really some of his, crucial successes in Iowa, something that the national media is really talking about today in South Carolina, that we were on the ground early. California is a massive state, seventh largest economy in the world. We've been on the ground for about the past year. And the nice thing about Senator Obama's candidacy is that when our first staffer came into California last March, we'd already had 100,000 people sign up on the website as supporters and or volunteers. And so, there was already a large groundswell of support and enthusiasm for the senator here in California. So our main purpose has been to be here, work with our volunteers, get organized for a vote turnout on February 5th, make sure people know about the issues. Californians are very intelligent voters who like to know about the issues. We want them to know where Senator Obama stands on the issues because we feel like he's a perfect candidate for California. Not only his background, but where he stands on the issues. So that's what we've been doing.
Now, it seems to me that a lot of the candidates obviously have similar views on a lot of the issues. They aren't the same, but it's not, for instance, how John McCain feels, in compared to Obama. So what are some of the big issues that you think Obama really does have a different spin on, that you really sort of want to bring to the forefront and have people realize, like, no, not all these candidates are the same. There's one who's different.
Right. Well, a couple of key things. One is his early opposition to the war. And he was the only candidate to come out and say before the war started, that this war is a rash war. I'm not opposed to all wars, but this war is a rash war, and we shouldn't be doing this. Now, some people say, well, he wasn't in the Senate at that time, and maybe there wasn't as much scrutiny. But certainly the public sentiment at that time was that we should be going into Iraq, and that it was, a popular move that a lot of politicians were doing. We think that this says a lot about his character, and that when you vote for a president, you vote for a leader, you're also looking at someone's character. Is someone going to look in the eye and tell you the truth? Is someone going to look in the eye and tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you've always heard or what you just want to hear? And I think that point really illustrates who he is as a person and his type of leadership. He was a state senator in Illinois. I mean, one thing he always says is, it wasn't easy when they were pulling Saddam Hussein's statue down to the ground in Baghdad to have that position. And I think it also shows his foresight and his judgment and his willingness to be out in the public arena, saying his position. The other thing where he's really contrasted with the other candidates is that he doesn't take money from PACs or lobbyists. That's a big distinction between the other campaigns, in particular with the Clinton campaign. And it makes a big difference when he's in those rooms negotiating on legislation and trying to move forward the issues that our country's been facing. It's a big problem in Washington, D.C. It's something he's talked about a lot, something that's very pervasive there. And so when he talks about changing the way Washington works, he is walking the walk of that in the campaign now. So there are some policy distinctions and also things that point to really who they are as candidates and who they are as people and how they're going to be as a leader. And that's one thing that we feel like, is very different from the other candidates.
Okay, and one last question. Right now, you guys are in the middle of the 100,000 calls.
Right.
And this is, statewide going on right now, all at the same time. Now, what is the goal of this? Who are you trying to reach? Who?
Right.
What is the?
Right.
Why 100,000
Right.
calls? Why today? You know.
So we've had an aggressive field program for about the past year. We've just had amazing response from volunteers and supporters from throughout the state, and it's really unprecedented what we've built in California. We have volunteer capacity in every single congressional district, and the thing that we've mainly focused on first was really reaching out to the absentee voters. They're about 40% of the primary vote here in California. So all of those voters have received at least one phone call from the Obama campaign. And not just a phone call from a phone banker, but a phone call from someone in their neighborhood. We have such a large, extensive network of volunteers that we're able to have people call people within their neighborhoods. We have recruited about 5,000 precinct captains throughout the state whose responsibility is within their precinct to call every registered Democrat and decline to states. Today, with the 100,000 phone calls, we're calling all decline to states. So those are people within California that have chosen to not be affiliated with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. We feel like Senator Obama in particular resonates with this group of voters because of his messages on a couple of things. One is that we need to go to Washington and change the way Washington works. And in order to do that, we have to stop winning our elections at the margins. So we need a candidate who is not polarizing. We need a candidate that's going to bring something else to the table besides this hyper-partisanship, politics the way that it's always been done. And he's really shown that through the course of his campaign, that he's able to bring in people from other parties, moderates, while still having a progressive agenda. So that's one thing we're talking to the decline to states today, and that's who we're targeting throughout the state.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, thank you.